Lina Al-Khaleed, the newly appointed District Magistrate, decided to witness the ground reality herself. She wanted no security entourage, no official fanfare. Just her eyes, her judgment, and the unfiltered truth of how ordinary people were treated. That morning, she changed into simple clothes, hiding her official badge and authority, and stepped out into the bustling market. The streets were alive with vendors shouting over the noise of haggling customers. Lina walked carefully, observing the vibrant chaos. Colorful spices, fresh fruits, and the irresistible aroma of street food. Her attention soon fell on a small chaat stall where a man, Yusuf in his 50s, was swiftly preparing pani puris. Sweat dotted his forehead, yet a quiet pride shone in his eyes as he served the growing line of customers. Curiosity pulled Lina closer. "Brother, 1 plate of pani puri please," she said. Yusuf looked up, smiled warmly and asked, "Spicy or sweet, madam?" Lina's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Spicy," she replied. "Make it really fiery, just for fun." Yusuf nodded and expertly filled each puri with mashed potatoes, chickpeas, and special spices, dipping them in tangy tamarind water. Lina popped the first bite into her mouth and was about to enjoy it when the laughter and chatter around her suddenly silenced. 2 motorcycles screeched to a halt nearby. 3 police officers and an imposing inspector, Karim Haddad, descended, stopping right in front of the stall. Karim's eyes fixed on Yusuf's cart with a mix of anger and authority. "Yusuf, how many times must I tell you? No vending here," he barked. Yusuf's face, once lively, drained of color. "Sir, I'm just trying to feed my children. I placed my cart on the side, no one is troubled," he pleaded. Karim laughed harshly. "Trouble? You'll see trouble." In a sudden motion, one of the officers knocked over Yusuf's water containers, spilling the spicy mixture onto the street. Another officer kicked the cart, sending puris, chutneys, and all the day's earnings crashing to the ground. Yusuf sank to the pavement, tears streaming, helpless. Watching this, Lina's blood boiled, not as a magistrate but as a human being. She stepped forward, her voice firm and unwavering. "This is unacceptable. How dare you destroy a man's livelihood?" Karim and his officers were momentarily stunned by the confidence in her tone. Lina, however, did not reveal her true identity. She would endure the next events, observe the system's cruelty, and understand how ordinary citizens suffered without any protection. The officers, ignoring her, grabbed Lina roughly. As she was dragged toward the police van, she felt a storm of anger and determination rising inside her. She was not just witnessing injustice, she was preparing to confront it head-on, and nothing would stop her from seeing the truth. Lina was shoved into the police van, her calm composure unbroken despite the rough handling. Around her, Karim Haddad and his officers laughed, treating her as if she were nothing more than a nuisance. But Lina's eyes remained locked on Yusuf, still crouched on the pavement, staring at the ruin of his cart. His day's earnings scattered in mud and filth. Yusuf had been working tirelessly since dawn, preparing each puri with care, dreaming of sending his daughter to medical school one day. Now, all his effort lay wasted, and there was no one to help him. Lina's heart ached. This was exactly what she had come to see. The system crushing ordinary people, indifferent to their struggles. Inside the van, the officers mocked her. "Who does she think she is?" one snickered. "A little street vendor telling us how to do our job." Another added, "She'll learn respect soon enough." Lina said nothing, letting their arrogance speak for itself. Her silence was deliberate, a shield and a test. Meanwhile, Yusuf tried to clean up his fallen puris, but the sticky water had soaked everything. Passers-by looked on silently, fearful of the policeman's wrath. Some whispered in low tones about the injustice, but none dared intervene. Lina's gaze met Yusuf's briefly. In that silent moment, a bond formed, one between a magistrate in disguise and a citizen wronged by her own system. At the police station, Lina was thrown roughly into the holding area. The room was small, dim, and suffocating. 2 other women, Layla and Fatima, huddled in fear. Layla, in her 40s, whispered tremblingly. Why are we here? What have we done? Fatima, barely 25, cried softly. They said I stole, but I only wanted to marry who I love. Lina understood immediately. This was not just Yusef's injustice, it was a pattern. The officers wielded power without accountability, and ordinary citizens had no protection. Every cry, every tear in this room told the story she had come to witness firsthand. Karim Haddad entered, his face red with arrogance. This one is very disobedient, he sneered at Lina. We'll teach her a lesson just like the rest. He raised a baton threateningly, but Lina did not flinch. Her calm eyes met his, steady and unafraid. In that moment, Lina made a silent promise to herself. She would endure this. She would see the system's cruelty to the very end, not to protect herself, but to protect the voiceless people like Yusef, Layla, and Fatima. Their suffering would not go unnoticed. The van had delivered her to the heart of corruption, but Lina's determination had only grown stronger. She was no longer just a magistrate on paper. She was a witness, an observer, and soon she would become a force that the system could not ignore. The holding room was dark and oppressive, filled with the stench of damp blankets and fear. Lina stood quietly, observing the women around her. Layla and Fatima huddled in a corner, their faces pale, their eyes filled with despair. She could feel their terror, the helplessness of being at the mercy of those who were supposed to protect them. Suddenly, the door slammed open. Karim Haddad stormed in, his baton in hand, his face twisted with rage. Disobedient. You think you can defy the police? He shouted. Lina's posture did not change. Her eyes met his, calm but burning with unyielding resolve. Two officers grabbed Lina roughly by the arms. She was dragged across the cold floor, her suit wrinkling, but her face remained steady. I am innocent, she said, her voice firm, cutting through the chaos. You are wrong. Karim sneered. Innocent. You will learn respect. Without warning, he struck Lina across the cheek. The sharp sting sent pain radiating through her face, but she refused to cry out. Her resolve had hardened into steel. The mark on her cheek was not just a bruise. It was a symbol of the injustice she had come to fight. Meanwhile, outside, Yusef tried to salvage what remained of his cart. But the officers had already broken it apart. His livelihood lay in ruins. His dreams of sending his daughter to medical school crushed in a few minutes. Passers-by watched silently, too afraid to intervene. Lina's heart ached at the sight. This was the real face of corruption, the power of those meant to serve the people, used instead to dominate and destroy. Back in the station, Lina was pushed into a smaller, darker cell. The room smelled of old blankets and fear. Layla whispered, trembling, Sister, they beat us for no reason. What will happen now? Fatima sobbed softly, her hands covering her face. Lina knelt beside them for a moment, offering what little comfort she could. Stay calm, she said softly. I will make sure justice is seen. Karim Haddad's laughter echoed down the hallway, followed by the heavy steps of his officers. This one thinks she is untouchable, he mocked. Let's teach her obedience. Lina felt the baton lift again, the room holding its collective breath. But inside, her mind was clear. She would endure every insult, every blow, every humiliation, not for herself, but for those like Yusef whose voices went unheard. And so the night stretched on. Lina, bruised and battered, remained unbroken. She observed, memorized, and recorded every detail. The cruelty, the fear, the silence of the helpless. The system's dark truth was laid bare before her eyes, and she knew that once she revealed her true identity, every act of injustice would have consequences. By the time dawn approached, Lina's face bore the marks of violence, but her eyes blazed with a new determination. This was no longer just a test. It was the beginning of a reckoning. As the first light of dawn seeped through the narrow window of the cell, Lina's face bore the marks of the night's violence, yet her gaze remained sharp, unwavering. Around her, Layla and Fatima stirred, exhausted but alive, their eyes filled with the faint hope Lina had ignited. Outside, the station remained a hive of arrogance, dominated by Karim Haddad and his officers, unaware that the balance of power was about to shift. Lina knew it was time. She had observed every move, memorized every face, every voice, and every act of injustice. Her mission had always been to witness the truth, but now she would act. Calmly, she retrieved her concealed official ID and placed it on the bench before her. The simple sight of it radiated authority, but she held it silently for a moment, letting the weight of the revelation prepare the corrupt officers for what was coming. Karim Haddad entered, still sneering. "Sleep well. Ready to accept your lesson." Lina looked up slowly, her voice steady and commanding. "I am Lina Al-Khaleed, District Magistrate of this district." The room froze. Karim's smug expression faltered. His baton dropped to the floor with a metallic clang. The two officers holding Lina froze in mid-step, their eyes wide with disbelief. Even the small crowd of women in the cell felt a tremor of astonishment. "District Magistrate," Karim stammered, his voice barely audible. "Why you how?" Lina's calm intensity filled the room. "Yes, Karim Haddad. I came here in disguise to witness the system as it truly operates. To see what happens when ordinary people like Youssef, Layla, and Fatima face unchecked power. And now the truth will be addressed." Outside, sirens blared, signaling the arrival of senior officials. The commissioner, the SSP, and other high-ranking officers stormed the station, alerted by Lina herself. They entered the room, eyes widening as they took in the scene. Lina, still composed, standing tall amidst the chaos. Karim Haddad and his team, frozen with shock and shame. "Explain," the commissioner demanded, his voice sharp and authoritative. "Why was the district magistrate treated this way?" Karim stammered, unable to form words. The officers he commanded shrank back, realizing their power had evaporated in an instant. Lina gestured toward the women in the cell. "These people," she said, "have suffered unjustly at your hands. They were treated as criminals for no reason. And Youssef's livelihood was destroyed while you laughed at him." The room went silent. Every officer knew the consequences would be severe. The commissioner's gaze hardened as he looked at Karim. Immediate suspension. FIRs filed. Investigation launched. The law protects the innocent, not the arrogant. Lina turned to Youssef, who had been brought into the station by a young reporter. "Your cart will be restored," she said gently. "And this system will ensure you are treated with respect and fairness from now on." Youssef fell to his knees, tears of relief streaming down his face. "Thank you, madam. Thank you." Lina's eyes swept over the room one final time. The corrupt officers were humbled, the victims reassured, and the media captured every moment. She had not only revealed herself but had ensured that the system faced immediate accountability. For Lina, this was only the beginning. The revelation was not just about her identity. It was about exposing the truth, protecting the powerless, and proving that justice could prevail when courage met authority. The station had transformed from a den of fear into a chamber of accountability. Lina Al-Khaleed, now recognized in her full authority, stood resolute. The senior officers moved with purpose, ensuring that Karim Haddad and his accomplices were officially suspended, their FIRs filed, and their misconduct documented. The echoes of the previous night's arrogance had vanished, replaced by the solemn weight of law. Youssef, still shaken from the loss of his cart, was escorted to a restored stall, his livelihood reinstated with proper municipal licensing. Lina had ensured that the compensation would come directly from the officers' salaries. The crowd gathered outside, murmuring in disbelief and hope, watched as the magistrate personally guided the process. "No one should live in fear for earning an honest living," she told them, her voice firm yet warm. Inside the station, Layla and Fatima were released, their eyes wide with gratitude and disbelief. "Thank you, Madam Lina," Layla whispered, trembling. "You've saved us, and shown us justice is possible." Fatima nodded, tears streaming. Lina smiled gently. "Remember, justice is not a gift, It's a right. And you have it. The media swarmed, capturing the magistrate's every word. Reporter Myra's camera recorded Lina addressing the city. Today we have begun a change. A change where no official is above the law, where the weak are protected, and where abuse of power will meet accountability. This is a promise to every citizen of this district. Kareem Haddad and his team were escorted out, humbled, their pride shattered. They had been instruments of fear, but in one night, their impunity had ended. Lina's eyes followed them, unflinching. "Let this be a lesson," she said quietly. "The law exists to serve, not oppress." Youssef approached her, holding the rebuilt cart with hands still trembling. "Madam, I don't have words. You are our guardian," he said. Lina placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "I am not a guardian because of a title, Youssef. I am here because someone must ensure fairness. That is what any responsible citizen can do." As the sun rose over the city, a new energy filled the streets. The simple act of courage, accountability, and justice had awakened hope. Citizens watched, learned, and believed that change was possible. Lina stepped into her official vehicle, fatigue evident on her face, yet her spirit soared. This day was not just a personal victory. It was the beginning of systemic reform. Cameras would monitor every corner of the station, weekly audits would ensure transparency, and Lina's unwavering vigilance promised that the powerless would always have a voice. Driving away, Lina looked at the crowd cheering for Youssef and the other citizens. Their gratitude was tangible, their trust restored. Justice had not only been served, it had been felt. Lina Al-Khaleed had proven that courage, integrity, and determination could overcome corruption, and in doing so, she had lit the path for a future where fairness was not a privilege, but a guarantee.